Hello! Autistic Genius here. Today we're still talking about pathological demand avoidance, or PDA for short. Excessive mood swings and impulsivity. Let's crack on, shall we? People with PDA switch from one mood to another very suddenly in a way that can be described as like switching a light on and off. Not really much happened, but that's a light going on and off. The emotions shown may seem very dramatic and over the top, or according to some parents, like an act. But maybe that's because if they're angry and they've seen a program where somebody behaves a certain way when they're angry, they're copying it. It could be that reason, that's why it is fake, or that the emotion's real, but they're not being real because they don't know how to express anger. So maybe they just copy something that they've seen. Difficulty with regulating emotions is common in all children on the autism spectrum, but early studies found it's especially prevalent in PDA. Ooh. Mood swings and impulsivity were also shown to persist beyond childhood in the majority of those with PDA. Well, I can imagine that, because if you get suddenly given something like, here you go, no! Oh, here's a nice little bit, so you go, like, here you go. What are you doing? That's going to annoy me. And I do not even have a diagnosis of pathological demand avoidance. What I do have, though, is a messy floor because I've just thrown paper on it. This switching of moods often seems to be driven by the child's need to control, and things that they can do to try. The mood swings are there to enforce their control of the situation they do not like. So by presenting with a situation they don't like, they create their own situation, which means they have control, which makes them feel more comfortable, which obviously doesn't always work in the wonderful world that we live in. Switches moods rapidly, often for no obvious reason. I suppose with autism, if you're not got PDA, I suppose with autism or Asperger's, it's like you can see it in them that something's building up, and then when something happens, it's like, yeah, it was coming, but and something very trivial that is big to them will hit them over. Whereas with PDA, there is no obvious. You can't see that they're already anxious. It just happens and goes. They can switch moods as a response to a perceived pressure. So if they feel like they're under pressure, they will switch moods. They will do whatever mood will make them. So some might be fight or flight. So some might go, right, angry. Or they might flight. They might run away and cry, hide away, lock themselves in a room. It's amazing with PDA. It seems really interesting that the mood swings kind of just happen like instantly. Whereas sometimes with people like myself, or maybe with other autism conditions, you can kind of see it building up. As if you know the person with PDA, even if you know them, it comes out of nowhere, and it's trying to find ways to prevent that from happening. Change mood in an instant if they suspect that someone else is exerting control. So this is why they struggle in mainstream school, because obviously automatically in a mainstream environment in schools, the teachers have to exert control to get control. So if anyone else is exerting control over what they're doing, they automatically fight back, because they find it very uncomfortable, because it's a new situation if somebody new is exerting control. Rapid and often unexpected changes of moods, together with their overall the variability of behaviour, can make children with PDA very unpredictable. I guess watching some of the TV shows recently, like Born Naughty, question mark, which basically means, why are they behaving this way? Are they just badly behaved? There's something that's not going, some information not going in, or is there some underlying condition that needs to be looked at? I suppose PDA is really unpredictable because you don't know what's going to create anxiety. The only way you're going to know is if you feel it's something new. So I suppose as a parent in a home, you've got to try and keep everything as similar as possible so they don't feel anxious, because they're not doing it because they're badly behaved. They're doing it because it creates a lot of anxiety, and they're avoiding the anxiety by saying no to the world, instead of because they struggle to confront something new and unknown. And for example, that's the kind of thing you need to take into mainstream school. So don't force new things on them. Start with something they know, and then maybe slowly work up to something new. And if they get to a point where bang, it's like, no, I don't want to. Okay, then how's about I show you it, and then you come back to it later and they still say no. Okay then. But we need to do this one day. Would you like to do it later? And if they go, yes, I'll do it later, then they might do it later. And if they don't do it later, then obviously we've got to a bigger thing to deal with. As somebody who hasn't got pathological demand avoidance and somebody who's not studied it greatly, I'm just reading off information from the National Autistic Society and trying to help enhance what they've already written. Thank you all so much for everything. Really good news. Hit 300 subscribers. Woo! Good week to be me. Thanks again, everyone, and bye! I might be reading it wrong.